Let's have a look at the answer to question 2D. So we have our report about wearing cologne, and when we look at our question, it talks about a claim, and the claim that they're referring to is that the teenagers aged 16 to 17 who use cologne is over 9% larger than those aged 13 to 15. Now we also added a little note there that this was for the 2005 data. So we need to calculate a confidence interval. So let's have a look at the data that we have here. So if I look, so the 2005, so when it talks about the 2005, we've got this 81%, which is the teens aged 13 to 15. And in 2005, we've got a drop to 80% for ages 16 and 17. And the other piece of information we need is our sample size N there. So we're going to use all of that information. Let's put that together. And I'm just going to put a table in here first. So we want to do the 13 to 15 year olds. And we want to do the 16 to 17 year olds. And so let's have a look at what information we have. So for the 13 to 15 year olds, it was a proportion there of 81%. So proportion is 81%. And for 16 to 17 year olds, we have a proportion here of 80%. And we also know for the 2005 study, the sample size is 1,022. Okay, so there's our information from our report. What we need to do now is we need to find the probability of the difference. So we need to find the difference between them. Okay, so the difference between the probabilities. And so I'm going to do my 81% minus the 80%, and that gives me a difference of 1%. So that 81%, that was my 13 to 15 year olds. Okay, so that's my little note. These are the 13 to 15 year olds. And the 80% is my 16 to 17 year olds. Okay, now I need to find my margin of error. And our margin of error formula, let me insert an equation there, and I need a fraction, and I need a square root. So we have, the formula is 1 over the square root of n. And in our case, we have our n is 1022. So I'm going to get my calculator, and I'm going to say 1 divided by the square root of 1022 gives me 0.0313. So I'm going to go 4 decimal places with this. So 0313. Okay, so there's my margin of error and my probability of the difference, my proportion of the difference. Now I can do my confidence interval. So I'm going to do my difference, which is 1%, and I will be doing my plus or minus. Let me grab that symbol, plus or minus. And I need to turn this margin of error here into a percentage, so that's 3.13%. So I'm going to have plus or minus 3.13%. So that is going to give me a confidence interval. So now I'm going to do oh no, I've forgotten one thing. We're doing a difference, so it's 2 times that margin of error, because we're talking about comparing two proportions. So the margin of error needs to be multiplied by 2. So I'm actually going to have my 1% plus or minus and 2 times 3.13 is 6.28%. So then I'm going to go 1% minus the 6.8, and I'm going to do the 1% plus 6.28%, and that will give me an interval of 5.26% and 7.28%, I think. Hang on, 1 minus 6.28 because 5.28. Okay, so that is my confidence interval. Oh, and that should be a minus. Now if I had done it the other way around, so if this difference there, if I'd done my 13 and 15-year-olds second, then I would have a negative number here, and then my confidence interval, these values would be negative, but the opposite way around. Okay, so which one's negative and positive just depends on the order that you subtracted. So what I now need to think about is, to get to that 1%, which one was bigger? Well, to get to this 1%, the 13 to 15-year-olds were larger. So that means that the 13 to 15-year-olds could be bigger, could be up to 7% more, or lower by up to 5.28% compared to the 16 to 17-year-olds. And that's what I want to say. So the percentage of teens aged 13 to 15 years old who wear cologne is likely to be between 7.28% larger or 5.28% smaller than those aged 16 to 17 for all teenagers. And then I need to look at the claim. So the claim says that those who use cologne is over 9% larger. And so we are going to say, well, this confidence interval doesn't even include 9%. So we are going to say that we disagree with this claim. So I disagree with the claim as 9% is not in the confidence interval. And that's our answer.